Rusty had never slept well in his guardian's house because he had never been tired enough. Also, his imagination would disturb him, and since running away, he had slept badly because he had been cold and hungry. But in Somi's house, he felt safe and a little happy and slept. He slept the remainder of the day and through the night. In the morning, Somi tipped Rusty out of bed and dragged him to the water tank. Rusty watched Somi strip and stand under the jet of tap water and shuddered at the prospect of having to do the same. Before removing his shirt, Rusty looked around in embarrassment. No one paid much attention to him, though one of the ayahs, the girl with the bangles, gave him a sly smile. He looked away from the women, threw his shirt on a bush, and advanced cautiously to the bathing place. Somi pulled him under the tap. The water was icy cold, and Rusty gasped with the shock. As soon as he was wet, he sprang off the platform, much to the amusement of Somi and the ayahs. There was no towel with which to dry himself. He stood on the grass, shivering with cold, wondering whether he should dash back to the house or shiver in the open until the sun dried him. But the girl with the bangles was beside him holding a towel. Her eyes were full of mockery, but her smile was friendly. At the midday meal, which consisted of curry and curd and chapatis, Rusty met Somi's mother and liked her. She was a woman of about 35. She had a few grey hairs at the temples, and her skin, unlike Somi's, was rough and dry. She dressed simply in a plain white sari. Her life had been difficult. After the partition of the country, when hate made the religion its own, Somi's family had to leave their home in the Punjab and trek southwards. They had walked hundreds of miles, and the mother had carried Somi, who was then 6, on her back. Life in India had to be started again, right from the beginning, for they had lost most of their property. The father found work in Delhi, the sisters were married off, and Somi and his mother settled down in Dehra, where the boy attended school. The mother said, "Mr. Rusty, you must give Somi a few lessons in spelling and arithmetic. Always he comes last in class." "Oh, that's good," exclaimed Somi. "We'll have fun, Rusty." Then he thumped the table. "I have an idea. I know. I think I have a job for you. Remember Kishan, the boy we passed yesterday? Well, his father wants someone to give him private lessons in English." "Teach Kishan?" "Yes, it will be easy. I'll go and see Mr. Kapoor and tell him I found a professor of English or something like that. And then you can come and see him." "Brother, it is a first-class idea. You're going to be a teacher." Rusty felt very dubious about the proposal. He was not sure he could teach English or anything else to the willful son of a rich man, but he was not in a position to pick and choose. So he mounted his bicycle and rode off to see Mr. Kapoor to secure for Rusty the post of Professor of English. When he returned, he seemed pleased with himself, and Rusty's heart sank with the knowledge that he had got a job. "You are to come and see him this evening," announced Somi. "He will tell you all about it. They want a teacher for Kishan, especially if they don't have to pay." "What kind of a job without pay?" complained Rusty. "No pay," said Somi, "but everything else, food, and no cooking is better than Punjabi cooking. Water." "I should hope so," said Rusty. "And a room, sir." "Oh, even a room," said Rusty ungratefully. "That will be nice." "Anyway," said Somi, "come and see him. You don't have to accept." The house the KAPOORS lived in was very near the canal. It was a squat, comfortable-looking bungalow, surrounded by uncut hedges and shaded by banana and papaya trees. It was late evening when Somi and Rusty arrived, and the moon was up, and the shaggy branches of the banana trees shook their heavy shadows out over the gravel path. In an open space in front of the house, a log fire was burning. The Kapoors appeared to be giving a party. Somi and Rusty joined the people who were grouped round the fire, and Rusty wondered if he had been invited to the party. The fire lent a friendly warmth to the chilly night, and the flames leapt up, casting the glow of roses on people's faces. Somi pointed out different people, various shopkeepers, one or two big men, the sickly-looking Suri, who was never absent from a social occasion such as this, and a few total strangers who had invited themselves to the party just for the fun of the thing and a free meal. Kishan, the Kapoor's son, was not present. He hated parties, preferring the company of certain wild friends in the bazaar. Mr. Kapoor was once a big man himself, and everyone knew this, but he had fallen from the heights, and until he gave up the bottle, was not likely to reach them again. Everyone felt sorry for his wife, including herself. Presently Kapoor tottered out of the front door, arm in arm with a glass and a bottle of whiskey. He wore a green dressing gown and a week's beard. His hair, or what was left of it, stood up on end, and he dribbled slightly. An awkward silence fell on the company, but Kapoor, who was a friendly, gentle sort of drunkard, looked round benevolently and said, "Everybody here? Fine, fine, they're all here, all of them. Throw some more wood on the fire." The fire was doing very well indeed, but not well enough for Kapoor. Every now and then he would throw a log on the flames until it was feared the blaze would reach the house. Meena, Kapoor's wife, did not look flustered, only irritated. She was a capable person, still young, a charming hostess, and in her red sari and white silk jacket, her hair plaited and scented with jasmine, she looked beautiful. Rusty gazed admiringly at her and wanted to compliment her, to say, "Mrs. Kapoor, you are beautiful." But he had no need to tell her, she was fully conscious of the fact. Meena made her way over to one of the big men and whispered something in his ear, and then she went to a little shopkeeper and whispered something in his ear, and then both the big man and the little shopkeeper advanced stealthily towards the spot where Mr. Kapoor was holding forth, and made a gentle attempt to convey him indoors. But Mr. Kapoor was having none of it. He pushed the men aside and roared, "Keep the fire burning, keep it burning, don't let it go out, throw some more wood on it." And before he could be restrained, he had thrown a pot of the most delicious sweetmeats onto the flames. To Rusty this was a sacrilege. "Oh, Mr. Kapoor," he cried, but there was some confusion in the rear, and his words were drowned in a series of explosions. Suri and one or two others had begun letting off fireworks, fountains, rockets, and explosives. The fountains gushed forth in green and red and silver lights, and the rockets struck through the night with crimson tails. But it was the explosives that caused the confusion. The guests did not know whether to press forward into the fires or retreat amongst the fireworks. Neither prospect was pleasing, and the women began to show signs of hysterics. Then Suri burnt his finger and began screaming, and this was all the women had been waiting for. Headed by Suri's mother, they rushed the boy and smothered him with attention, whilst the men, who were in a minority, looked on sheepishly and wished the accident had been of a more serious nature. Something rough brushed against Rusty's cheek. It was Kapoor's beard. Somi had brought his host to Rusty, and the bemused man put his face close to Rusty's and placed his hands on the boy's shoulders in order to steady himself. Kapoor nodded his head, his eyes red and watery. "Rusty, so you're Mr. Rusty. I hear you're going to be my school teacher?" "Your son, sir," said Rusty, "but that is for you to decide." "Do not call me sir," he said, wagging his finger in Rusty's face. "Call me by my name. So you're going to England, eh?" "No, I'm going to be your school teacher." Rusty had to put his arm round Kapoor's waist to avoid being dragged to the ground. Kapoor leant heavily on the boy's shoulders. Good, good. Tell me after you've gone. I want to give you some addresses of people I know. You must go to Monte Carlo. You've seen nothing until you've seen Monte Carlo. It's the only place with a future. Who built Monte Carlo, do you know? It was impossible for Rusty to make any sense of the conversation or discuss his appointment as Professor of English to Kishan Kapoor. Kapoor began to slip from his arms, and the boy took the opportunity of changing his own position for a more comfortable one, before levering his host up again. The amused smiles of the company rested on this little scene. Rusty said, "No, Mr. Kapoor, who built Monte Carlo?" "I did. I built Monte Carlo." "Oh, yes, of course." "Yes, I built this house. I'm a genius. There's no doubt of it. I have a high opinion of my own opinion. What is yours?" "Oh, I don't know, but I'm sure you're right." "Of course I am, but speak up. Don't be afraid to say what you think. Stand up for your rights, even if you're wrong. Throw some more wood on the fire. Keep it burning." Kapoor leapt from Rusty's arms and stumbled towards the fire. The boy cried a warning and, catching hold of the end of the green dressing gown, dragged his host back to safety. Meena ran to them and, without so much as a glance at Rusty, took her husband by the arm and propelled him indoors. Rusty stared after Meena Kapoor and continued to stare even when she had disappeared. The guests chattered pleasantly, pretending nothing had happened, keeping the gossip for the next morning, but the children giggled amongst themselves, and the devil Suri shouted, "Throw some more wood on the fire, keep it burning." Somi returned to his friend's side. What did Mr. Kapoor have to say? "He said he built Monte Carlo." Somi slapped his forehead. "Toba, now we'll have to come again tomorrow evening, and then if he's drunk we'll have to discuss with his wife. She's the only one with any sense." They walked away from the party, out of the circle of firelight into the shadows of the banana trees. The voices of the guests became a distant murmur. Suri's high-pitched shout came to them on the clear, still air. Somi said, "We must go to the chart shop tomorrow morning. Ranbir is asking for you." Rusty had almost forgotten Ranbir. He felt ashamed for not having asked about him before this. Ranbir was an important person. He had changed the course of Rusty's life with nothing but a little color, red and green, and the touch of his hand.